Check 1, 2. Just checking for radio. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Checking for Jackson back at the radio station to get some volume for us. Check 1, 2, 3. Everybody on Facebook will get started in about 9 minutes. He says it's good. All right, we can mute that back. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Josh Peterson with Thunder Radio, and I want to let everybody know on Facebook Live and on the radio, we're live and going from the church at 117, and we've got several candidates here tonight. We're going to go for about 2.5 hours through county mayor, city mayor, and alderman, and maybe we'll go a little faster if we don't get too long-winded. I don't know, but we got time planned out for everybody. Rob Clutter is going to be our moderator tonight. First, I do want to introduce everybody, let you know the rules and how things are going to work out. This is, we do this about every other year, and we really want to thank Steve West with the church here at 117. He gives us a really good deal and helps us put this on, so we're thankful that he does this for us every couple of years that we need to do it. First up, we're going to have county mayor candidates, and I'm going to introduce everybody up here. We're going to go across the stage. On the far side, I'm going to let you put his hand up. It's David Nipper. He's an independent candidate. Next, we have incumbent interim mayor Dennis Hunt. And then next to me, we have Roxanne Patton, who is also an independent, Roxanne Springfield Patton on the ballot, who is an independent candidate. When you go to vote, you'll be selecting one of these candidates. The person with the most votes will fill the seat for 2 years, which is the remainder of the term left open by the passing of Mayor Judd Matheny this past spring. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening statements. I'll time from over there, and we'll let them know when they're out of time. Then we've got some questions for them. Had really a lot of submissions from the community, which were great. And if anybody needs to address somebody or we need to do any rebuttals, we'll allow either 30 seconds or a minute for that. We'll just judge that as we go. Our order has been determined by number draw, and Miss Patton won that. She chose to go last. So it'll be Mr. Nipper who's going to go first. We'll turn it over to Rob Clutter, our moderator for the night, and he'll get us started.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate everyone being here this evening. Appreciate the folks that are listening to us on Thunder Radio and also watching on Facebook or Twitter this evening. Excited to be here. We appreciate, again, you being here and participating in the political process. We're inundated each and every day with what's going on in the national political process, but at the end of the day, what happens right here in Coffee County and Manchester really affects our lives a lot more. So it's important that we know what all the candidates have to say. So we'll get started with opening statements. Mr. Nipper, I believe you're getting ready to go first. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I appreciate Thunder Radio putting this forum on. My name is David Nipper. I'm running for Coffee County Mayor. We are running on a campaign of being transparent as much as we possibly can. We've done a lot of door knocking in the past 2 weeks, more than I realized. It's been a hot campaign. I don't know about my other two, but it has been a very hot campaign as far as getting out there and meeting people. So I would appreciate your votes as early voting starts tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you at the polls.
Thank you, Mr. Nipper. Mr. Hunt, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Clutter, and thank you for the participants that showed up. Thank you for the crowd that is here to observe and the people listening at home. My name is Dennis Hunt. I was born just about a block from here at Baker Brothers Drugstore and a doctor's clinic upstairs. I've been in Coffee County and my entire life. I did go to school in Tullahoma. I'm a graduate of THS. I opened my own small business in 1973 that is still in operation as of today. I've slowed down a little bit is why I've able to take on the position of interim mayor. My lovely wife, who has been beside me for 25 years now, takes care of the office work at my business. And I'm serving as interim mayor because of the passing of the Judd Matheny. And the Coffee County legislative body elected me as chairman pro tem, and by TCA law, when the mayor passed away, that moved me to the position of mayor. And for those that wonder why I haven't been out on the road, haven't put up a lot of signs, I've been being mayor. I am the mayor right now, and it is a full-time job, and I have been very, very busy with that job, being in that office every day. And with that, I will yield to Ms. Patton.
All right, Ms. Patton, you have a couple of minutes to give your opening statement.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having us, and thanks for everyone coming out and listening. I'm Roxanne Patton. I was born and raised here as well. I worked in first I'm going to say my immediate family is not here because of the passing of my mother-in-law. So on Tuesday. So I'm kind of Lone Ranger except for my cousin and my friends. Like I said, I was born and raised here. I worked in the county mayor's office for 20 years. I currently work in the property assessor's office. I am, on September 1st, it'll be my 22nd year working for Coffee County government. And I want to be your mayor. I'll stop there. So.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to go into a few questions, and what I'd like to do is, Mr. Nipper, we'll start with you on this one, and we'll come down, let everybody do their thing, and then y'all help me keep this straight, and then next time we'll start with Dennis Hunt and go around, and then we'll start with, y'all see what I'm saying?
I got you.
Trying to keep it even, but I'll get confused on that, so y'all got to help me. Okay. Mr. Nipper, what real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as mayor?
Real world experience do I have that would translate into mayor? I have run for the past 8 years, Middle Tennessee region for Burger King. For the past 20 years, I have been in the restaurant business, GMing restaurants, turning those around as far as businesses go, from Arby's to Taco Bell, to Little Caesars. And for, like I said, the past 8 years has been Burger King. We are one of the second largest fast food chains in the United States, with GPS Hospitality, who I work for, being the largest franchise of Burger King. I run all of Middle Tennessee from Nashville to Huntsville. And with that, day-to-day basis, I'm doing P&Ls. We're running businesses, $1 million stores. Manchester location is probably the 4th busiest store, believe that. I would have never thought it. The busiest store, just to give you guys some information, the busiest store in the East Coast right now is McMinnville, Tennessee. Believe that or not. That store does $3 million a year. Would never thought it. But anyway, that's what we bring to the table. I develop managers. I train managers. I have 4 training stores in my region. I develop people on a daily basis, teaching them how to become managers and how to run their own businesses so that they can control what they do inside their 4 walls on a daily basis.
All right, very good. Mr. Hunt, same question. What real world experience do you have that you feel would translate into the role as mayor?
That's pretty easy. I've conducted myself operating a business that I built from scratch, which gives me management skills. It's a track record. I've been Coffee County Commissioner for 10 consecutive years. That's 3 consecutive elections that I've won. And some of the stuff I bring to the table, I bring it a little bit better wearing overalls, but I do my best in a shirt and tie. But I'm a hands-on guy. I work hard and will continue to work hard. and I will work hard for the taxpayers of Coffee County, and I think I've already exhibited that through this very exhaustive budget process that we just went through. So I just feel like the key word is I do have a record, a good track record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Ms. Patton, same question. What real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as mayor?
Well, as I said before, I worked in the mayor's office alongside 3 different mayors from both sides of the aisle for 20 years. I also served as a Manchester City Alderman from 2008 to 2014, and again in 2021 to 2022. So I have experience in leadership.
All right. Very good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Hunt, we're going to start with you on this question and go around, like I said. The county commission recently passed an 8.5% increase to the salary budget of each department, but the sheriff's department just lost 2 SROs to Cannon County because of pay differences. What is your plan to bring county employee salaries in line with surrounding counties?
First of all, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we were able to do the 8.5%. And I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from the employees of Coffee County for that 8.5%. The initial budget mayor's proposal that we started working with only had a 5% in there. I went through the budget, the areas of the budget under which the mayor has control, and I found what I characterize as fluff, considerable fluff, and I made adjustments, and the Budget and Finance Committee approved those adjustments, and that $120,000 that I was able to cut from the budget actually paid for 1/4 of the 2.5% that we were able to add, or the 3.5% that we were able to add to the 5% that had been proposed. So moving forward, that keyword fluff, all department heads need to do the same thing I did. They need to go through their budget. They need to look at what is unnecessary or exorbitant, excessive, identify that, and the next budget cycle, change that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Ms. Patton, the question is, the county commission recently passed an 8.5% increase to the salary budget of each department, but the sheriff's department just lost 2 SROs to Cannon County because of pay difference. What is your plan to bring county employee salaries in line with surrounding counties?
Well, the 8.5% is a good start, but we're always behind. Have been for years. I've been on the receiving end of that. And I'm very appreciative for the 8.5% to the departments. Understand it wasn't 8.5% to each employee. It was for the department to divvy out the money the way they felt necessary, which is good. And but for the plan, I'm not really sure on the plan to get this straightened out, but I would like for us to be in a situation where we don't we train our employees and then lose them to other cities and counties due to the lack of pay.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. Mr. Nipper, question is, the county commission recently passed an 8.5% increase to the salary budget of each department, but the sheriff's department just lost 2 SROs to Cannon County because of pay differences. What is your plan to bring county employee salaries in line with surrounding counties?
Absolutely. This is not the first time this has happened because of pay rates. This is something that's been an ongoing process for Coffee County. It's been something that has happened for a few years now, that we begin the training process with officers and we lose them to other counties. After we trained them, certified them, they go to other counties for higher pay. So the pay rate for our officers and our SROs has been a extenuating problem in the county for many years. We need to look into grants to help fund that for some of our officers and look into different avenues to be able to fund that budget, to be able to get them up to the standards, to be able to pay them, to keep them in our county, because we train them, we should be able to hang on to them. And that's been a revolving door. If you look at the statistics of it and look at how many officers we've actually trained and how many have actually stayed on with us, the ratio of that's a pretty big, substantial number. So we really need to work on the retention of our officers. And with that is going to be pay, but there are grants available to help that. And we need to dig into getting those grants available to the county. And that would help out with the budget, because it doesn't need to be a tax hike to help pay for that. And yes, we did do an 8% across the board for departments, and that money needed to be utilized in different departments for those heads to seek out that money to put it in other places. But we also need to look at different avenues to help fund some of those departments, like our sheriff's department, who needs help with that because they're spread thin. I mean, our sheriff's department covers more than y'all realize. They do a lot of different task force, and SRO is one of those things that's been initiated in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hunt, in the past 4 years, SRO has been put in place.
Correct.
So that's been something that's been had to add to the budget. So it's been something that we've not been used to. So we need to find that excess money somewhere to make that happen. And we're going to have to find a grant or something to make that happen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was David Nipper. Okay, next question I believe goes to Miss Patton. And then we'll go like that. Can you identify the top issue facing the county? And how do you intend to address that as mayor?
Well, I think that many people in the room will agree, or listening will agree, that growth is our major problem. We have to be prepared or get prepared for the growth. We have to be willing to partner with Manchester City, Tullahoma City. County doesn't have any utilities such as water and sewer. We have to depend on the cities for such. And we have to be open to this change and this growth. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Nipper, same question. Can you identify the top issue facing Coffee County, and how do you intend to address that as the mayor?
The top issue is growth and infrastructure, and we're going to have to attack that slowly. Growth is going to come to Coffee County. It's going to happen. We're not going to be able to stop the growth of Coffee County, but we can control it and we can slow it down. Growth will come, but if we get ahead of that and build our infrastructure, we can slow that growth and we can control it. And that's what we need to do. We need to be able to control that growth so that we can see what's going on before it happens. So we need to be ahead of the infrastructure of it. We need to be looking into a county sewer system. We need to be looking into water supplies for the county. And we need to be looking into getting people off well water and onto a water supply if they need it. So we need to be looking into all those avenues and making sure that we're helping out for the growth that's coming.
Thank you very much. That was David Nipper. Dennis Hunt, same question comes to you. Can you identify the top issue facing Coffee County, and how do you intend to address that if you are elected mayor?
Contrary to popular belief, the mayor has very little authority. He or she is the captain of the team, is not the player out on the field. So what you do is the growth. That's the number one issue, the growth that they're talking about. We have a comprehensive zoning resolution that will handle the growth that's coming. And the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Planning Commission, they have an excellent record, and they have controlled the growth as it's come, as we see it now. I think I was going to mention grants, if I may. The grants, there's a lot of grants are not recurring. You know, we get grants are like a one-time thing. And so we have to handle growth without raising taxes on the people that's already here. Growth produces taxes. You know, some of my signs say, I support our farmers. Our farmers are the backbone of this state of Tennessee. Agriculture is the number one industry in the state of Tennessee. Agricultural lands are the ones that produce the most tax revenue. I hate to see the agricultural lands turned into subdivisions, but we cannot keep a property owner from selling their property. So we do have to, actually there are counties that are adjusting their zoning to control growth, as a matter of fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. That's Dennis Hunt. David, I'm to you, right? Start with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. Like many departments, the county ambulance service has struggled with staffing. The administration at Unity Medical Center has told us many times they are outright unable to get ambulance transport to larger facilities because Coffee County EMS does not have enough vehicles in service to lose one out of the county. How do you plan to address this?
Addressing EMS would be looking at the department head for that to find out how many ambulances we have available in the county, where those are stationed at, and if they're accessible to the right locations. Because currently right now our EMS is stationed in the middle of town. And, you know, we have a lot of volunteer fire departments throughout the county that could really utilize having a ambulance in those locations. And again, I know everybody's like, this man talks about a lot of grants, but there are one-time grants out there to get these things done. We just have to apply for them and we have to get them to happen. And there are different things that we could do to raise money for those. These volunteer firefighters raise money to get the fire departments out there. We could raise money to put ambulances in these volunteer fire departments and have somebody to work it so that we could have EMS closer, and that would help the county.
All right, thank you. That was David Nipper. Same question to you, Mr. Hunt. Like many departments, the county ambulance service has struggled with staffing. Administration at Unity Medical Center has told us that many times they are outright unable to get ambulance transport to larger facilities because Coffee County EMS does not have enough vehicles in service to lose one out of the county. How do you plan to address this?
Once again, that's really not under the mayor's purview. The ambulance authority, we have a board of individuals that are very capable. They know this is an issue. It's like most things that it's revenue driven or the lack thereof. And there's very little that can be done from the mayor's position to fix that. We do have like I said, we have a very good board. They're capable individuals, and I feel that they are moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Ms. Patton, same question. Like many departments, the county ambulance service has struggled with staffing. Administration at Unity Medical Center has told us that many times they're outright unable to get ambulance transport to larger facilities because Coffee County EMS does not have enough vehicles in service to lose one out of the county. Do you have a plan to address this?
Well, actually, I've experienced that myself with my own mother. So we had to wait hours to be transferred to another facility. A vehicle in service doesn't mean the vehicle is broken down. It means there's nobody to drive it, probably, is what they're talking about. And it goes back to the pay issue and training people and them leaving, going to other counties or cities.
All right. Thank you very much. That was Ms. Patton. Mr. Hunt, I believe you're next. How do you feel about your ability to work in conjunction with the cities of Manchester and Tullahoma's government officials, and how important is that to the future direction of our county?
Good question. I'm glad it was asked because it's been one of my pet peeves ever since I've been a county commissioner. I've always felt that there was the us against them mentality that I wanted to try to mend that. I started my first employment when I was 14 years old, was working at a restaurant in Tullahoma. Worked a couple of jobs there before I started my own business, but I started first grade at East Lincoln Elementary School, and I graduated from THS. So I have a large amount of friends. I have a vested interest in the success and operation of the municipality of Tullahoma. The same goes for Manchester. Went to church here as a child. I had my first welding shop was over on Short Street, and I know so many good people in both cities. We need the new mayor of Tullahoma and the new mayor of Manchester and the mayor of Coffee County should be a trio that is inseparable. They should work together. There's the urban growth boundaries that reach out from those municipalities, which bring us sometimes at odds with each other, but it shouldn't be. We should be able to work out any differences that we should have, and I look forward to that.
All right, Ms. Patton, how do you feel about your ability to work in conjunction with Manchester and Tullahoma government officials, and how important is that to the future direction of our county?
It's very important. It's vital. We're at a historical time where we're going to have 3 new mayors in this county. I don't think that's ever happened. And I am willing, communication is going to be key. Communication is going to be key for us all 3, as Mr. Hunt said, be a trio and be very, very open to discussions and issues that we all have, because we're all Coffee County.
Thank you. That's Ms. Roxanne Patton. Same question, Mr. Nipper. How do you feel about your ability to work in conjunction with Manchester and Tullahoma government officials, and how important is that to the future direction of our county?
It's extremely important to the future of our county that we work together. I feel like that it's not going to be an issue to work with the new mayors and have a conversation with them on a monthly basis. I feel like that they need to be to where we can all sit down and have a conversation and just talk about what's going on, because it's important to know what's going on in Tullahoma. It's important to know what's going on in Manchester, and it's important for them to know what's going on in the county. I think it's extremely important to the future that we all know what each other's doing so that we can help out where we can.
Everybody did that one? It's you? All right, Ms. Patton. The state and county have been working on the Middle Tennessee I-24 industrial site, or as some have called it, the industrial mega site, although I was told we weren't supposed to call it that. It's being marketed as 6.4 million square feet of structures. What plans do you put in place to ensure that our county is able to handle the infrastructure, including adequate law enforcement, emergency services, fire, sewer, and schools?
Just as you said, all of those services need to be looked at and handled the best way we can. We really don't know what's going to be there, so it's kind of hard to say. We all know that we're going to have to increase all of those services to protect everyone in this county, as it grows, our new residents, employees.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. Mr. Nipper, I believe you're next. The state and county have been working on the Middle Tennessee I-24 industrial site, also called the industrial mega site, that's being marketed as 6.4 million square feet of structures. What plans would you put in place to ensure that our county can handle the infrastructure, including adequate law enforcement, emergency services, fire, schools, etc.?
There again, we're going to have to grow as it grows. So as we see the state coming in and building in here and helping us with this mega site and being able to put things in there, we're going to have to grow with it. So we're going to have to grow our departments as it grows. So as we see it expanding, we're going to have to expand our departments at the same rate so that we can handle those things. So that's how I would see us being able to handle that and handle our infrastructure at the same time. But you had mentioned the sewer system at the moment. At the moment, we do not have a county sewer system. We have, in my part of the county, we have a step system. And if they do put something in that area, it will be a step system, because it's the only thing that can go out there, because they can't hook to city sewer. So they'll have to put a step system in that area. And if people continue to build like that throughout the county, we'll be putting more step systems in place. And so that's what we need to be focused on as far as this is going forward, is how we're going to handle those and how we're going to maintain those, as well as how we're going to maintain the water companies that are helping with those, as much as Hillsville Utility, as much as Manchester City, and how we're going to help extend those as well as the infrastructure moves on. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to be involved in to make sure that that growth happens at the same rate of speed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Nipper. Mr. Hunt, the state and county have been working on the Middle Tennessee I-24 industrial site, or mega site. It's being marketed as 6.4 million square feet of structures. What plans do you put in place to ensure that our county is able to handle this infrastructure, including adequate law enforcement, emergency services, fire, sewer, and schools?
Now we're talking grants. The state of Tennessee they've actually pitched this in our lap. Okay, we're not in the driver's seat regarding the development of the site specific. All the peripheral growth, which would primarily be residential, that is something we got to look at. I really think, I don't know about a step system being out there. I actually looked at the possibility of a full bore wastewater treatment plant with digester tanks, the whole thing, and get wayside acres off of the step system. You know, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a full operating wastewater treatment facility there. Once again, the state's in the driver's seat. We will have a groundbreaking, I think it's the end of this month or August 1st, for the very first tenant, which is once again the state. It's a new TCAP facility would be built out there. The entrance to that is off Highway 53. And I've already, as mayor, I've already had contact with consulting firms regarding this facility. We rode around on the property. This consulting firm is, they got their fingers in state government. And I'm on a first name basis with those individuals. I have their phone numbers, and I'll definitely be chewing on their ears as soon as the state of Tennessee starts bringing stuff down. We don't want the state of Tennessee cramming stuff down our throat that's going to require taxation to bring this up. Like I said, the grant, that's the first place we're going to see grants. We need the grants for the revenue is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Now we have time for a closing statement from each. Ms. Patton, you'll go first, and then we'll go around. You have 1 or 2 minutes where you can make a plea to the voters.
Again, I want to thank you all for having us. And as you go to vote, starting tomorrow, vote Roxanne Patton. I'd love to be your mayor, do the best job I could do, and partner with everyone in this county. Thank you.
Mr. Nipper. Again, my name is David Nipper, and I would like to have your vote for Coffee County Mayor. I'll be as transparent as I possibly can, giving you every bit of information that I can going forward, as we can report whatever we get as soon as we get it, putting those on platforms that we can be able to share that information with you as soon as we can share that information. That is kind of what I want to do, is be able to give you guys that information ready at the hand. So I would love to have your vote. As Roxanne said, early voting does start tomorrow. The election date is August 1st. Love to have your vote. Again, my name is David Nipper, and I'm running for Coffee County Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, closing statement.
Yes, I want to ask a question to everyone listening, everyone in this room, the three of us up here. Why are we here? Because a man died. He was a good man. He did a lot of good for Coffee County. He won by a huge margin. It's safe to say I'm probably the only one at this table that voted for that man. I am a Republican. I am a fiscal responsible individual. I think my track record shows that. I hope that the individuals of Coffee County will select me as the mayor to finish Judd Matheny's term. The night, August 1st, I plan no celebration. If I am the winner, it's not something to be celebrated in my book. I have the experience, I have the desire, I have the love for this county, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. I'd just like everybody to show some appreciation for our candidates. Running for office is not easy, and the job they're seeking is not easy either. So we appreciate you all coming out. If we're going to have a short break while we get our candidates up here for Manchester City Mayor, and we will commence in just a moment.
All right, everybody. Time to take a look at our candidates for Manchester City Mayor. For everybody listening in on Thunder Radio, I am Josh Peterson. We'll have Rob Clutter, our moderator, join us here in just a moment. Everybody here at the church at 117 is kind of getting themselves back into their seats and all that stuff. So we'll give them just a second. I'll introduce our candidates. We have one candidate who is not here tonight, Bob Bellamy for Manchester City Mayor. He could not make it. I believe he is on an airplane on his way back from Seattle. So we hate that he could not make it, but he wanted me to give out his cell phone number, said to give him a day to get back into town. And if you have any questions, he'd be glad to talk to you. It's 931-247-5132. All right, the candidates who we do have here tonight, we have Mr. Joey Hobbs. If he'll wave at everybody, let everybody know who he is. He's currently a sitting alderman and county commissioner. And Bill Nichols right here with us as well. Going to put his hand up so you can see him. Only Manchester residents and Manchester property owners will see these on your ballots. We have these questions from time to time, why they didn't get to vote for city mayor, why they didn't see that. The person with the most votes here will win a 4-year term as city mayor. Much like the last group, each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening statements. Then we will have some questions for them, where they will be given 2 minutes to respond. If we have time at the end, which I believe we will, they'll have a couple of minutes for closing remarks. Our order has been predetermined by number draw. So Mr. Hobbs has won. He's chose to go first. Rob is going to come up here and get us started.
All right, gentlemen. We're going to start off. Mr. Hobbs, I believe you won the draw to go first. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Good evening. I'm Joey Hobbs, and I'm asking for your vote to be the city mayor. Even though I have lived and worked in Manchester for over 40 years, I may not have the name that is familiar to all of you, but I have been working hard to rectify that as a result of meeting a lot of great people on the campaign trail. I want to thank everyone who has opened their door and welcomed me in, and I'd even like to thank the gentleman who ran me off his yard. As I've gone door to door, I have listened to the comments and concerns about our city, and I share those views. First, our city is growing, and we are not going to stem that growth. And I don't think we should. But what we must do is be proactive instead of reactive and be better prepared for the unattainable growth that is coming. To be better prepared for our future, our city must have a plan. That is communicated and executed. It is imperative that we get all the stakeholders on the same page. The success of our city demands direction. I was elected an alderman 2 years ago, and from that position, I've had a front row seat in the lack of planning that has resulted in what we have today. That is expending energy and resources and putting out fires. A sense of direction will benefit the citizens and effective our government. To be clear, I know that I can deliver the plan, see it to be executed without having a city manager. I plan to be intentional with our tax dollars. I believe that writing a budget, developing a sense of direction for the city, addressing demands of growth, and overseeing department heads is the scope of work of the city mayor. We have hired a city manager in the past without success. I believe in moving forward and not revisiting the old ideas. The issues we're experiencing today in Manchester are not a result of a lack of having a city manager. It's because we don't have a plan or direction. Also, I gave you my word that I will not raise city property taxes, but by adding a city manager is one of the many ways that we would have to raise our taxes to afford that position. I'm Joey Hobbs, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Nichols, you have a couple minutes for an opening statement.
So my name is Bill Nichols, and Amy brought me back to her hometown in 1997. We started our family here, and I can't think of a more wonderful place to have done it. And over time, I have in my heart a desire to serve, and so I served on the Manchester Industrial Board at the time when it was combined into the joint board, and was in favor of that. Subsequent to that, I was elected alderman, served a term. I was the chairman of finance for the years there. And the planning commission, I sat on planning and I really enjoyed that service. I took a break because I kind of like to make room for other people to come in and see if there's anything new or different that maybe I'm missing. I was in the Chamber of Commerce president twice, and then more late, other things in between there. More lately, I just came off the Manchester Board of Mayor and Alderman 2 years ago. And I do favor a city manager strongly. We're the only town in Tennessee this size that doesn't have one. Even larger size towns or smaller. One way that I think we could pay for that is currently when a department head has a question that's unanswerable, they reach out to the city attorney, and a large part of that city attorney budget is based on questions that come in from, and I have a number in mind, but I don't want to say it because I can't factually back it up, but that part of it goes away. So the funding is kind of a thing, and I called MTAS one time. They said the pay for that was somewhere between 60 and 120,000 a year, depending on experience and the person you got. And those resources are available to us. We can ask a lot of questions of MTAS and get good answers from that. So to sum up, this is the next thing I would like to do to serve my community, and whomever's elected by the citizens of Manchester, I'll support. And if it's me, I'm ready to go to work.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. We'll get into our questions. You'll have 2 minutes to answer the question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Hobbs, and then I'll figure it out. All right, here we go. How do you intend to address the problem and number of derelict and abandoned buildings and property in the city? And as a follow-up to that, or make it part of your answer if you can, is this problem due to inadequate codes, unequal enforcement of existing codes, or is it something else?
So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. That seems to be an ongoing thing is we have residents are unhappy with people who don't maintain their properties. There's buildings that are, I guess for a better word, dilapidated. And it is responsibility of the codes department to bring that forward. I know there's a number of them that are in the court system right now, and it's not a quick fix, but we should be addressing some of those through stronger codes. And to be honest, right? I mean, sometimes they fall through the cracks when they shouldn't, but that's something that has to be addressed through planning. I mean, what is the ultimate objective? How long should it take? And that's where we have to get better at what we're doing today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Nichols, same question. How do you intend to address the problem and number of derelict and abandoned buildings and properties in the city? Is this a problem due to inadequate codes, unequal enforcement of existing codes, or is it something else?
Well, all that and something else. I'm sitting here trying to formulate an answer without using addresses or names of buildings, but there's a line between someone who owns a property and what they do with it and what we perceive as our like how we like our town to look. And it's never going to be the way we want our town to look, because there's always going to be something that's out of proportion. Generally speaking, safety is the number one thing to condemn any kind of property. If a building's getting ready to crumble and you can get an engineer in there to say it's unsafe, then you can condemn the building. I think another way to condemn a building is if it's unhealthy. And I know there's one property in town that we've had in court for years on end with very capable legal representation on our side, and it's virtually impossible. It's been going on for years, and it's one that if I mentioned it, everybody would be like, oh yeah, that's the one. But so it's case by case, and it's tough. I got sideways with a friend on the building over there that was the old Arco gas station building right next to that. I can't remember the name of that. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? The brick building. It was kind of cool on the front, but the facade was getting ready to fall off. Those are tough issues, and it's pretty much case by case, I think. But there's no way to mandate. I mean, I don't think a code could be written to cover everything that's an issue.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols, and we'll stay with you and go the other way. The Manchester mayor race is nonpartisan, but voters want to know where you stand as it relates to political thinking and leanings. If this were a partisan race, would you be on the ballot as a Republican, a Democrat, or independent?
Well, since it's a nonpartisan race, I think that answering that question would take it out of being nonpartisan. So I'm not going to do that. I further think that more races could be nonpartisan. It's people know who I am. I've been in this town long enough that people know we all know each other. And the one thing that I want to say about any kind of leanings that I have is that I want to love everybody the same in my town. And I'm not going to judge anybody more than I judge myself.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Hobbs, same question. Manchester mayor race is nonpartisan, but voters want to know where you stand as it relates to political thinking and leanings. If this were a partisan race, would you be on the ballot as a Republican, a Democrat, or independent?
Well, I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Nichols. Okay. I mean, everybody knows me. I've ran in different races here. You know what a party I'm affiliated with, but this is a non-party race. And I do think that that's probably not a very good question for that race. You know, at the end of the day, I think the race should be about who can guide our city in the direction that we all want it to go. I don't think that you have to put that into this race. I think that there's, three good candidates. We probably all have a little different views about things, but I think everybody's heart is probably in the right place. So yeah, I agree with Mr. Nichols, and we'll leave it there.
Good job. All right. Joey, Mr. Hobbs, we'll leave this with you. With the median house price in Manchester around $305,000, according to Redfin, and the median household income around $53,000, according to U.S. Census data, do you foresee a housing affordability issues? And do you feel that this could lead to increased homelessness in our community? If so, how can you work to address that?
So I think it already has led to that. I mean, there was a period of time here that you did not see homeless people. Now you see them sleeping in different places. And it truly has. I mean, and listen, all this came down from Murfreesboro. I'm a custom home builder. I don't develop property. But the last several houses that I have built, I'm sad to say, right? It is folks that have moved here and purchased those houses. I mean, the average person here in Coffee County is having a hard enough time. And part of what we should be doing from planning and zoning is designating areas for affordable housing. I mean, it's happening in a lot of big cities around us, and we should set aside some of those areas so that we can address those needs of people who have grown up here, live here, and that want to move here to make it where it is affordable. So it's definitely got to be something that is part of our plan. And I mean, I know everybody probably gets tired of me talking about a plan, but listen, without a 5-year plan, we don't know what direction to put the city in. Okay. I mean, if you can't develop a 5-year plan that addresses all the needs of our city, we are going to continue down the path we are today. And it's not something that's sustainable. So I do agree that it is out of balance right now. And we as government and elected officials have to start addressing that.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Nichols, same question. With the median house price in Manchester around $305,000 and the median household income around 53,000, do you foresee housing affordability issues, and do you feel that this could lead to increased homelessness in our community? If so, how can you work to address that?
When I moved here and started working with the Farm Bureau back in '97, the $300,000 house you're talking about was $115,000. And, you know, those are macroeconomic pressures that are changing that in our community. What we can do about it here, I really don't know. It's how can somebody builds a house and they can sell it for $300,000? They're going to sell it for $300,000. And the person that can only afford a $100,000 house, what do? This weighs on me something fierce. And I pay attention to homeless people here. I've got a friend that pushes the grocery cart around on Highway 41, if you've ever noticed, out near 114 exit. And I've spoken a lot to this person. Part of it, this person suffers with schizophrenia. He talks about that behind his ear back here, God tells him one day he's a bad person, the next day he says he's a good person. Homelessness is not related to any one thing. So I'm not afraid that housing is going to lead to increase in homeless people here. One time I saw a homeless guy that I think was homeless here in Murfreesboro, and I called our police department. I said, hey, I saw this dude down there that was up here. And he goes, yeah, we put him in our car and we take him to other cities around here. And I said, well, so do they do the same with us? And they're like, yeah, it's a thing. I mean, this is hard for everybody, but I don't think to equate homelessness with the price of housing is exactly a binary kind of a thing. And the state of Tennessee just passed some, and I don't know enough about this to talk about it, but there are going to be some affordable housing measures coming out of the state, and maybe we can build some income-based properties. And you know, we have some really great facilities in our town now that are just unbelievable based on income and wonderful places. But it may be federal money too that takes to fix it.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. You guys both touched on this in your opening statements, but we actually have the question, and this will start with you, Bill. Are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
So the first time I was elected alderman, I went to visit the director of municipal audits at the state of Tennessee, Dennis Dicus, because I didn't know what was going on with the budget. And I was like, they'd done the audit. I wanted to find out. So I'm sitting there, and there are two guys in there with white short sleeve shirts and ties and pocket protectors, you know, those accounting type people. And we're sitting in this little room waiting for Dennis to come. And he says, and they says, well, where are you from? And I said, well, Manchester. And both of them leaned back and started laughing. And they said, that's the most political place in the state. That was 2000, whatever it was. I don't think it's changed a great deal. I want to change that. I think a more professional government is very doable. It's not site specific. It's not because we're different. Every community in our state has a city manager. It's not they don't micromanage each department. Actually, the reverse of that. They trust the department managers to bring them good information so they can in turn support all the efforts that are doing in that department. That's how that works. They're not in there to put their thumbs on departments. They're in there to work with so that so our town can grow with professional development. So I have a feeling that our town is still not as bad as it was, and it was bad. A very political town. But I think there are also enough people in this town that are professionals and want to see a professional government take hold, and that's what I aim to do.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Same question to you, Mr. Hobbs. Are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
So no, I'm not in favor. At the end of the day, the board of mayor and aldermen decide if you have a city manager or not. The mayor can offer one, he can want one, he can do whatever he like, but it's going to take 4 votes from the board to hire this person. And the way we are today, every 2 years, half of that board changes. I mean, look, let's just take our sister city in Tullahoma. Look what happened to that city manager. I mean, things were rolling along just fine. They elected half the board. They fired this poor person. I mean, that's an awful way to go, right? I think as mayor, you're obligated to do that job until the politics can be taken out of the city. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to correct that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you as mayor can fill that role in a basis of direction and what you're wanting for the citizens and what the citizens want of their town, you don't have to have a city manager. We're not ready for one yet. I'm sorry. It's like Mr. Nichols said, this is a very political town. And every 2 years, people run for various reasons. And until that changes and you have enough growth in the area, that person's just not going to be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. We'll keep it with you for our next questions. Our next question, issues with the Manchester sewer system have been pretty well documented. How has it gotten to such a situation, and how do you propose addressing this moving forward?
So as I stated in the beginning, I've been an alderman for 2 years. I've had 2 water directors. We have a new one, Mr. Perry. I think that he comes in with a vision of what he'd like to accomplish. As you can read in the paper and different things, he's holding us accountable to help him fix the issues that he has addressed and the ones he's identified. But how did we get here? Well, we got here because all of the folks that predate me didn't have a plan. They either didn't listen to the director, they didn't think it was worth our time and our money, and so now everything's falling apart. I mean, look, it's no one person's fault. It's just we're in a big vacuum here. We get up every day, we fight the fire that's in front of us, and we're not looking at tomorrow. But thank goodness we're starting to get people who are proactive in a lot of these areas. And I feel very confident that we can address those concerns, fix the current issues, and figure out how to make it better. It's been, the saying's always been, we don't have money or this and that. Listen, the city has pretty good funds. The water department has good funds, and it's truly not as bad as what you read, but any occurrence is bad. I'm not making light of that, but you're going to have to attack it with a plan. And until we start focusing on that as a long-term item for our city, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Nichols, the issues with the Manchester sewer system have been pretty well documented. How has it gotten to such a situation, and how do you propose addressing this moving forward?
So I think it got here sort of like a game of musical chairs. If you have 3 chairs and 4 generations walking around and the music stops, 3 generations sit down and ours is the one left standing. I think it's because of over years, nobody wanted their water bill to get higher. I don't know who knows what the politics were of that, but somehow we never funded that. One critical thing about our sewer, and Amy and I just spent $5,000 correcting this at our house, and this is my big concern. A lot of the I&I is in the city system. A lot of it is in our personal dwellings. All of you all that are listening, the line from the house to the sewers in our town are not all that great either. And I don't know the percentages. That's something I'm really curious about finding out. But for Amy and I to put from our house to to the road was $5,000 to replace that line. And Knox County just went through this, I don't know, a couple of years ago, say. They had the same sort of problems. They found a way to fund some money for some neighborhoods to replace that line from the house to the road. That is a really delicate, interesting negotiation and funding. But so it's not just our system, it's also on you all, us as citizens. And I'm rambling a bit here, but we're good. Okay. Another thing at the mega site, when there was a big, I think maybe Kia, could be wrong about that, ended up going to North Georgia. They had a pretty good plan for their sewer. They were going to rent $2 million a day from us. I'm making all these numbers up, fact check me. But we had maybe 6 million capacity. They were going to take a couple of million, rent it while they built their own sewer system, but they couldn't evacuate it into the Duck River. They had to evacuate it over to I forget where. Fact check that one. And but in the meantime, now we're under a moratorium and now aren't. We weren't when that was going on. But I'm skeptical about why we're not under a moratorium right now. And I hear all the things that is great from many people.
Thank you, Bill. Sorry. He's the timekeeper. Okay. I'm going to stay with you.
Like I was saying about the sewer.
You could just use your 2 minutes to finish up. Okay. The Public Building Authority, or PBA, is a separate entity of the Manchester, and a separate entity from the Manchester Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This board has control of the Manchester Conference Center, but the city is responsible for the funding. Are you in favor of this arrangement, or would you prefer the center to be under more direct city management like other city departments?
So I don't think this is an in favor or not in favor of. I want the conference center there. The reason the conference center was put there, and I'm not a big go back and reinvent the wheel. I really trust the people that decided to build a conference center. And the main reason was we don't have a place to meet. And if we don't have a conference center, we don't have a place to meet again. So I'm for whatever we got to do. One thing I think is kind of interesting about how we fund things, we have the Chamber of Commerce, we have Greater Manchester Industrial Board, we have tourism, we have, seems to me like a lot of not competing, but a lot of different avenues to bring people to our town. I'd kind of like to bring that together a little more. And I don't really know. I've kind of got an idea. I don't want to bring it up here because it might be a little bit touchy to some people. But I do have a little idea about how to do that. But in general, the answer to the broad question, I want the conference center to stay there, and I want it to be, and I don't necessarily think it has to function in the black every year. But I also don't think it needs to be like a drain on the budget either. So it's a tough one, but I think reasonable people can sit at a table and discuss it and work it out.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Hobbs, the Public Building Authority, or PBA, is a separate entity from the Manchester Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This board has control of the Manchester Conference Center, but the city is responsible for the funding. Are you in favor of this arrangement, or would you prefer the center be under more direct city management like other city departments?
So, yes, is the answer. I think the conference center is needed. I think it serves a purpose. I would like to see it through the city versus the PBA, because then you can fund it correctly, in my mind, through the tourism dollars and not through the general fund. I think they deserve a percent, just like you give to the rec center. And the general fund gets some of it, and then tourism gets some of it. But that way, you have because in my opinion today, what happens is you have a board in between you. And when this was a city and county entity, I voted in the county to get rid of the conference center to the city in hopes that the city would put it under their purview, and then you have a little more say in what happens. Right now, the way it works is the PBA has the total authority. We constantly have questions and concerns about who does the maintenance. They have to pay for maintenance versus the city having people to go do maintenance. And so there's a lot of wasted funds because they are not under the city. They have to get their own insurance. I mean, it's very complicated to do it the way we're doing it. And since the city is the biggest contributor to that, it would just make sense to me. I mean, the rec center doesn't work in the black. The conference center wouldn't work in the black, but you have more say and control with your dollars that are spent there.
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs. We're going to keep it there with you and give you an opportunity for 2 minutes to ask people to support you for this election.
So I would like to thank my family, my wife, Colette, my son, Brent, my daughter, Brittany. I'd like to thank Thunder, you for moderating this, and everybody who came out tonight and everybody listening. Again, my name is Joey Hobbs. I'm asking you to give me an opportunity to lead the city. And by doing that, we will get a plan. We will hold people accountable to the plan. And as you as stakeholders in the city, the communication will not be hidden. It will be freely given to you, and you will be a part of the process for us to move forward. Growth is coming. Once the state of Tennessee purchased land here in Coffee County, it changed the direction of our town forever. And it's time that we go ahead and accept that, and we start trying to figure out how to get out in front of it. But as a daily basis, fighting fires is just wasteful energy and resources to where we should be trying to figure out how to move everything forward. Thank you.
Mr. Nichols, you have a couple of minutes to appeal to the voters and ask them for their support.
Well, I want to talk about something that kind of the reason I'm running for mayor. Driving up here, I saw the mural on the side of the art department, and I want you all to drive by there and look at it from time to time. Katie Riddle came up, called me one time and said she had this idea about a community mural and do some art. And so we met and we came up with sort of a plan to not ask people to contribute any money to any cause, not pay for anything, just to come and put their paintbrush on that wall. The art teachers from our local schools came to a meeting one time. We each drew a flower. I think we had 6 flowers. The Caitlin Houston Sarzosa, who's now at Coffee County Bank, was at Hoover Paint. She convinced them, which didn't take much, to contribute the paint. So this Saturday morning comes after all the groundwork that we've done. We painted the big part of the wall on the back, and then the Hoover Paint had this van set up with a tent and all these little cups of paint with different colors, 6 different colors, and people started coming. And it was just the most, I don't know, just the most gratifying thing to see people in our community coming and participating in this effort. And it was just fun. And we were going to do it from like 10 to whatever. We had to stop it at 1 o'clock because so many people came that they were painting over the top of other people's things, you know, and it was like, and then people started putting their own touches to it, which was awesome. But because of something like that, that's the reason I want to be mayor. I want things to keep going in our community like that, where we all come together. There wasn't anything about anything, who you were or where you were. You just showed up with your person, grandparents with grandchildren, picked up a paintbrush and painted. And that's how I want to govern. That's how I want to sit at the table and talk about the mega site, about the sewer, about the this and the that, all the things. Just like that, in community together.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. These are your candidates for Manchester City Mayor, Joey Hobbs and Bill Nichols. Let's thank them for being here this evening. I do want to remind everyone that election results will be live on Thunder Radio on Election Day evening beginning at right as soon as the polls close, and also on the website at thunder1320.com. There's a live spreadsheet that will be updated as results come in. We're going to have a short break and get our candidates for Manchester City Alderman up here and ready, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
third and final group of candidates on the stage. This is our largest group, so we're going to have a few different rules for them. These are our candidates for Manchester City Alderman. We're going to go from the far end of the table towards us, and I'll get everybody to raise their hands so everybody in the audience and watching on Facebook or YouTube can see. I think they're posing for a picture first, so y'all smile. Okay, and then we'll introduce everybody, and then everybody can recognize voices in a minute. Far end of the table is we have Harold Rocky Jones. If he can put his hand up so everybody can see who he is. Next, we have Ryan French. Next, we have Joe Pat Cope. Next, we have Julie Anderson. Next, we have Shannon Fletcher, and then we have John Revis Fletcher here on the end. What we're going to do for this group, same as the last group, all these candidates are going to appear if you're a city resident or if you own property in the city, and they will appear as independents, nonpartisan race for city races. You'll be selecting 3. If you go to the ballot and you're not sure how that works, you'll be selecting 3 when you vote, and at the end of it, the 3 people with the most votes will be winning 4-year terms on the city board. I think I've got that right. We're going to do 2 minutes for opening statements. I'll have the time over here, and Rob will interrupt you if you're going too long. We'll let you finish your thought if we need to. And then we're going to do 1 minute responses on questions because we have so many candidates. We're going to try to power through as many as we can. And then if time allows at the end, we'll do 1 minute for closing. We'll get Rob up here and get us started. We drew numbers, so that's the order we ended up in here.
All right. Thanks again to all the candidates for coming out this evening. We're going to start off with a 2-minute introduction from each candidate. We'll start with you, Mr. Jones.
Good evening. I'm Harold Rocky Jones, and I want to thank everybody in attendance tonight and all those that are listening across the radio. I've been married 27 years to my beautiful wife, Stacy. We have 3 adult kids. I'm retired Air Force of 24 years. I've lived here in Manchester for 16 years since 2008. I've coached baseball for 10 plus years here in the city as well. And then I was a volunteer firefighter for 10 years, 1 year here under Mr. Sam Miller, Chief Sam Miller. I'm a VFW lifetime member and American Legion member as well. My platform is this: Manchester first. Everything I do, I have Manchester, Tennessee Forum on Facebook, and I try to put our city and our businesses first always. I am for hiring a city planner manager. The reason I am for this is there's no rhyme or reason for zoning where businesses, residents, industries, or schools go. It's just wherever there's property, they put it there. If we have a city planner available, we want to be able to make him or her make those decisions on saying where businesses might go so that we can better plan for the future growth. I'm also for an independent audit of the infrastructure, calling for a civil engineering company to come in, look at our water, sewer, streets, flooding issues, schools, and give us a report back, and then we can work on those improvements from there. We've seen in the papers where water and sewer has gone on deaf ears. It's operating at 44%. I don't want that to come out. If I'm elected, I will make sure I'm in attendance when we have issues like this. I'm also for city code enforcement.
Mr. Jones, soon. Wrap it up, please.
Okay, thank you. And fix high turnover rate for city employees that's at 40% and better wages for them beyond 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. That's candidate Rocky Jones. Ryan French, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
So I'm Ryan French. I was born here in Manchester. I've been married to my wife, Rebecca. We're going on 12 years. We've got 5 kids. I have to count them in my head before I say it out loud every time. We kept trying to have a girl, didn't work out, so we just got 5 boys. I don't sound satisfied with that, but I'm very satisfied with that. A girl would have been nice. But So I have, my kids are 3, 10, 16, and 22. So we've got everyone fits into a different category. They're in a different part of their life. They're experiencing something different in Manchester. And so my interests are across the board, their quality of life, be it school, preschool. What do you do after school? Retaining our talent, making sure people have a place to live, good jobs. I love Manchester. These political campaigns too often turn negative. We have good people running for office. The folks that were just up here running for mayor, Bill and Joey are both wonderful guys. So is Bob. I've served with all three of those guys. Each of them will do good things, and they need a board that's willing to be professional, to be collaborative, to be diplomatic, be objective, and work together. That's important. Not exacerbating issues that we have. We do have issues, but working together to get through those, not making them political, and seeing to the end is what I bring to the table. I'm a narrative guy. I think the one place that the city has failed pretty consistently, and I've said this for 15 years, is the fact that we don't relay the narrative out of the mayor's office or out of City Hall. We need a public relations director more than anything that I can possibly think of, not to spin, but to get the information out there and make sure people understand exactly what's going on. Too often we have meetings where we have a zoning issue or we have an annexation, and we have people that are in the room for legitimate fear that they may be annexed or they may be brought in, or sewer lines run through their backyards and this and that,
Mr.
and they're
French.
completely
Mr. French.
Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Ding. Sorry. That's my job.
No,
That's
you're
it.
good.
I'm just doing it. I'm sorry
And
for
I will
both.
finish later.
And
I'll sell you 15 seconds of mine, Ray.
I'll walk to the car, I promise.
I'll do the same thing to you too. So 2 minutes, Mr. Cope.
Coach Joe Pat Cope, candidate for Manchester Alderman. First of all, I'd like to thank Thunder Radio. Once again, like everything you guys do, you've knocked it out of the park tonight. Thank everybody for coming out and supporting our great city. I came home about 3 months ago and told my wife that I was going to run for alderman, and I got why. Well, there's three main concerns that I'm basing my campaign around. We've got to get our sewer system better here in the city. We can talk about it, but we don't need a Band-Aid. We've got to get the problem fixed. We are going to continue to grow. The mega site, it's coming. We don't know what's in it yet, but it's coming. It's going to create so many housing opportunities in this city. We've got to prepare our sewer system now. Second of all, our conference center. Like both the mayoral candidates expressed earlier, we have to get it where it's making money. I want the conference center. I want people to come to Manchester and know we have that. Me and my wife and my neighbors, we have been 3 or 4 times over to the Park Theater in Manchester, in McMinnville, to listen to concerts. We went and saw John Conley, Doug Stone. And I said, John Conley, I'm a country music fan, but I don't have rose-colored glasses when it comes to the conference center. We've got to make it work, and we can, but it has to be booked. I've been to concerts here at the church by vinyl radio here. But if there's nobody here that night, it's not going to make money. We have to get the events in there, and we have to make it work. End of discussion. I will make that happen. Thirdly, our police and our fire department, the backbone of every community, are way underpaid. We have to get their raise up. We have to get their benefits up. While out campaigning, I've seen Murfreesboro Police, Tullahoma Police, Grundy County Police in our county. There's no reason we should lose those people. We've got to keep the people that we train here in our county. I got your countdown, Josh. Thank you. Joe Pat Cope, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Ms. Anderson, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Julie Anderson. I've lived in Manchester for 15 years. I've lived in Williamson County. That's where I grew up. That's where I graduated high school, and then went to school at MTSU for a while, and then got married and later moved here. This is where I raised my kids. They both were College Street Cougars. They were Westwood Rockets. Trey went on to graduate from the high school, and I served As a board member on the Manchester Arts Center, I volunteered for the Coffee County Humane Society, and I'm proud right now to be a member of our Save Our Old Stone Fort Bridge Preservation Group, because that's important to me. Right now, in the past, I've worked at sales and marketing and local media, and right now I work in hospitality in Murfreesboro. I've been an alderman for 2 years, and during that time, I've learned that what's important to me is being transparent, having all the important discussions during the meetings and not outside the meetings. I think the public deserves that. The sunshine law is really important to me. I also propose that we live stream all committee meetings. That has not happened yet. I guess we don't have sufficient support for that, but maybe after this mayoral election, that'll change. What I don't do is post a lot of how I feel on Facebook, because I'm just so discouraged with the general negativity that I see on Facebook. I know it's a great way to get information out, but it seems like there's a lot of bullying and there's a lot of behavior that I wouldn't see from us when we see each other face to face. So that's probably something that I could have done better, to try to reach out to the public about what's been going on the first couple years, and I haven't done that. And that's why. But I will always listen to folks who have concerns, and I'm always going to have the discussions and try to ask the questions during the meetings, because I think that's respectful to you all in the process. It's also a legal requirement too. If I'm reelected, I'm going to serve the way that I have the first 2 years, and that's to be very conservative as far as growth is concerned, because I have concerns about our infrastructure, like the other candidates have said. We have a sewer system that has major problems. I have folks in the Skinner Flat area, the West End Circle area, all over the city letting me know that we have issues, and they'd like us to fix those issues instead of continuing to approve high residential developments. Those are a couple of the things that are important to me, and I look forward to sharing the rest of them in the coming minutes. And thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next, we have Shannon Fletcher. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement, sir.
My name is Shannon Fletcher. Of course, we've got two Fletchers up here running. So most of the people know me as Festus. That's my nickname. Had that for many, many years. I'm a lifelong resident of Coffee County in the city of Manchester. I have children that go here and have went here, have graduated from here. I'm not a politician. I'm not a good old boy. I'm neither one. Most people that know me know that I don't mind saying what's on my mind. And saying that, I want to be a voice for our employees and our citizens. They all need a voice, and I want to be one of those voices. We do have many problems in this city that have Band-Aids on it. As everybody has said, our sewer system, it's got a Band-Aid on it. Our conference center, it's got a Band-Aid on it. And we can go on and on and on. The Band-Aids need to be taken off, and it needs to be fixed, and fixed now. We need to have a plan that's put in force, that we're looking ahead. Growth is here. We're not going to stop it. We may slow it down, but it's here. It's not just here. It's in every city and every county in Middle Tennessee. I see it every day. I'm a businessman. I get out. I go from county to county doing different things, and I see it. It's everywhere, and we've got to be ready for it. Our fire department, our police department is always undermanned. We've got to get our pay raises up for these people so they want to stay and do their job that they're trained to do. We have lost tons and tons and tons of employees. I myself were a fireman for 10 years here in the city of Manchester. The reason I left is because I could make better pay. We've got to get it up. We've got to get our pay up for our employees, and do whatever we got to do to keep these people here for years to come. This is their home. This is where their home is. Again, my name is Shannon Fletcher. I would like to have one seat of the three that's coming. There's 8 of us, so I hope your pick is going to be hard for you. Thank you.
For those listening on the radio, that was Shannon Fletcher. Up next is John Fletcher with his 2-minute introduction.
On the ballot, my name is John Revis Fletcher, but a majority of y'all would know me as Bull. I'm from this town, had multiple businesses in this town. Like a lot of young people, I went off into the world, sowed my oats, but wanted to come back home. And I've been back here for over 15 years and never really left. My daughter goes to school here. We own a business in town here. We own property in town here. I live in the city. I work with countless nonprofit organizations in this city. I was a part of the downtown Manchester movement. I got to be a part of watching people like Steve West come into this town and take this building, this church, and now turn it into a place where you all get to meet political candidates. Thank you very much, Steve. There has been so many amazing things that happen in this town over the last 15 years. One of the main issues is communication. We all talk about and we hear about transparency, but it doesn't matter, in my opinion. Communication, whether it is what is going on within your local government and communicating to you taxpayers in regards to what's going on, as well as communicating within the city government, from different organizations to different committees, even back to the mayor of Board and Alderman. So I've been doing communications for over 20 years. I understand it. I know how to do it. I know how to communicate a message. I've been running multiple events and businesses inside. I know how to negotiate. I know how to work with other people, and I know how to make things happen. I do multiple events every single year with multiple different organizations coming together, and the only thing that makes them work and them raise money and us bringing awareness is coming to a resolution. That means different people with different ideas sitting down and making something happen. I do that all the time in this town, period. I always say this: if you don't know who I am, don't ask me. Ask somebody at the United Way. Ask somebody at the Manchester Chamber of Commerce. Ask somebody at the Rotary Club. Ask, ask, ask. I promise you, I am 1 degree of separation from somebody that you know that is doing something in this town. And I will put my best effort forward to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was John Fletcher. All right, we're going to start down there with you, Mr. Jones, for our first question. And it's 1 minute. Is that correct, Josh? 1 minute. What real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as alderman?
As I said, I'm a retired Air Force of 24 years. I was out at the base, AEDC. It's a $7.8 billion project out there that they continue to do. As an operations center superintendent, you're over all the logistics of CE, fire, EMS, police. All those issues come right back to the operations center when the commanders are away or sleeping. We take that information and we have to make decisions right away and operate that. And it operates just like a city. They just have different names. Commander is basically your mayor, your ops or your group commanders are your aldermen. So the command post fills in for that. Well, they're away or not able to perform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. French, same question. What real world experience do you have that feel translates to your role as an alderman?
I'm going to start. The first thing is I have a bunch of children that are in the system right now that are in school, and I see day-to-day decisions that we make on the board and how they affect them, how they affect our community, how they affect the way we grow, the way we operate. I've managed in 2 Fortune 50 companies. Right now, I work with the South Central Tennessee Tourism Association. We work with 13 different counties and 37 municipalities across the South Central area. I understand economic impact. I understand the impact of tourism. Mr. Hunt is correct. In the mayoral debate earlier, that agriculture is our #1 industry, and Coffee County has a strong agricultural industry, but the #2 industry in our state is actually tourism and hospitality. And if you would take agritourism and put it into tourism, it's actually #1. But ag doesn't like that, so I don't say it much. But so I work with these cities and counties every single day. we work on grants, we work on developing programs, we work on developing tools and impact case studies, data. All of that is applicable to what I do as an alderman.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Cope, same question. What real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as an alderman?
In the early 1980s, my parents bought a grocery store in Sparta. I started out working as 14 years old, bagging groceries. As I got older and graduated high school, I moved into the role of manager. I did our hiring, I did our firing, I did all our ordering. My mom got sick around 2001 after I'd graduated college, and they sold the store. I went to work at a plastics company in Sparta, BASF. I was there for 6 years. I was our purchaser. Each week I ordered $500,000 to $750,000 worth of plastic products. We made plastics for John Deere steel. I was able to slash what we were using, our waste and our products, by over 42% within my time there. Now I'm the coach here in town. Each year a new team comes to me. I've got 16 teenage girls every year that come in that I have to manage. We have to prepare. We have to win games. We watch film. We study. Our city has to be the same way. We should have planned for our sewer 5 years ago. We didn't. Plan ahead, get it done, fix it. That's what I can promise you.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Ms. Anderson, same question. What real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as mayor?
As alderman.
Oh, sorry. It says mayor / alderman. As
Okay.
alderman,
That's
sorry.
okay. I'm just making that clear. I'm not running
No,
for
no,
mayor.
thank you for that.
I was blessed to be a stay-home mom for a long time, and I think that's one of the best jobs we can do. But my first job after that was at a consulting company doing market research for, it was a wide area situational awareness software. It sounds really complicated, but anywho, I love doing research, and that has persisted. You know, it's looking for information and trying to see how that information can be valuable. So I think in the past couple years, I've been I have like looked things up on my own and not just taken the information that's provided to us and asked hard questions. I'm not an attorney by any means, but if I come across something and I think we're doing something illegal, then I bring that to everybody's attention. The other thing I'll mention here is that when I was working at the local newspaper, we had citizens come in all the time and they would bring their concerns to the paper. And I have a soft spot for citizens and their concerns. I want their voices to be heard. I know a lot of times they feel like government isn't listening to them. And I've sat in the meetings too, and I see why people think that. And I would like to have a government that that makes its citizens feel like their opinions are valid and they're welcome, even when it's uncomfortable to listen to sometimes. That's the role of the government, to listen.
Well, that was dead on. His little finger just gone down. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anderson, for that. Mr. Shannon Fletcher, same question. What real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as mayor? Oh. Hold on.
There we go.
Hold on. Mr. Fletcher, what real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as alderman?
I have, over the years, as a young man, I grew up as a farm boy. My dad was a farmer. I've worked in businesses. I've worked for Nissan Powertrain Assembly. I've worked for countless different people. I've been a city employee here in the city of Manchester. Now I'm a business owner. I have been since 2014. A major thing is in being a business owner, you got to listen to your employees. Your employees consist of a lot of different things, but not only your employees, you got to listen to your citizens. You've got to listen to what they say and make changes if changes need to be made, whether you want to or not, whether good or bad. And you've just got to communicate. Communication is huge. You know, I've been to board meetings where there's nobody there. Our community needs to come out to our board meetings. They need to fill the rooms to listen to what's being talked about and done there. And communication is 1,000%. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Shannon Fletcher. Mr. John Fletcher, what real world experience do you have that you feel translates to your role as alderman?
That's Alderman, not mayor, correct?
Alderman.
Okay. I was very blessed in 2008. I was invited to be a consultant for United Nations in regards to implementing the Millennium Goals in certain areas. So I got to learn how, from a global structure, how different entities come together and they succeed and fail. Then I was very blessed to work with Bill Strickland in Cleveland, part of the Cleveland Foundation, where we went into a dilapidated area of Cleveland and built a school where we took young people who were failing out of high school and we implemented a program that taught them music, culinary, and health. Then after that, we were very blessed to be invited by Dan Gilbert over to Detroit for the Rebuild Detroit. Saw tons of successes and failures. A lot of those failures, it all revolved around safety, security, infrastructure, and people coming together. Those were the main criteria that I always saw. In Cleveland, it was successful when people worked together, the community come together. They made sure everybody was safe and they planned. In Detroit, it continued to fail because everybody was at each other's throats. Nobody was willing to come to the people with hard decisions. Nobody was willing to sit across from each other and debate. Nobody was willing to make a decision. Here every single day in this town, over.
Just say something, wrap it up like super fast.
Oh, wrap it up. Every day at Common John Brewing Company, all the events that I put on, we make sure things get done, money gets raised, and events are had, and it continues to roll.
All right, very good. Thank you. That's John Fletcher. So with the boss's permission, I'm going to kind of combine a couple things because I have two questions that are kind of along the same line. We're going to start with Ryan French, and we'll come down, and then you'll go last. And can everybody have 2 minutes for this one? He said, okay. It's a big question, and I think it deserves a lot of thought. So I'm going to kind of summarize both of these because I think that they're the same. Manchester's population has jumped nearly 9% since just the 2020 census. That is according to estimates from the Census Bureau. The question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? And then the question, if you listen to the Coffee County Mayor thing about the mega site and what impact that's going to further have on this growth, I would like you to lay out a brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth.
So it's a great question. Because there's so many different factors or so many that you have to consider in a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan. And I want to also bring up, you brought up the median sale price is around $305,000, I think. The median list price is actually $385,000. So that kind of tells you where house prices are going versus where they are right now. And I have to hand it to Mayor Howard when the mega site came to be in question. And it really took that step to, it's going to happen. The state's going to make this investment. You know, the city had to take a strong stance on saying, hey, we can't take the sewer for this without some type of investment, be that a state investment, be that a county investment, be it a unilateral investment from all three. That was a kind of a pivotal moment, and it allowed us to kind of step back and say, look, we really need to plan this. I've been a huge advocate for growing our infrastructure in a very progressive and smart way. I believe, you know, you look at the city of Columbia, Tennessee, they built a corridor to I-65. It's literally exploding with hotel growth and interstate traffic growth. We have an opportunity to exit 105 where we could put in infrastructure there. For housing growth, practical housing growth that would not only buy houses for what is coming with the mega site, but what continues to come down I-24 from Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. So you kind of have, again, so many factors. You have people that are going to work here, but you have people that are going to work outside of our community as well. There's no secret. The sewer system's got it. The sewer plant has got to be fixed. That we have to get that back to where it is intended to be. But as far as planning a 10-year growth plan, I do think that you have to look at where you're going to invest, where you can partner. Exit 105, I'm going to go back to that plan. we put together a group of county commissioners and city aldermen. It was one of the first joint groups that I've seen put together to discuss that particular plan. That plan was going to ratify water issues in the county. So we're taking care of an issue that's in the county with water. It was also going to help us prepare for growth, not just short-term growth, but long-term growth in the population that's coming.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Cope. Manchester's population has jumped nearly 9% since the 2020 census, according to the Census Bureau. The question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? And also, as this relates to, I guess as Ryan mentioned, organic growth and, of course, the mega site that is looming. Lay out your brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth.
We have to get started on it now and plan ahead. The mega site's here. It's coming. We are going to grow. We have to start on our sewer day one. Yesterday, I talked to a former friend of mine, 8-year mayor in Sparta, Mr. Jeff Young. They had the same problem in 2016. Mr. Nichols spoke on it earlier in the mayoral debate. A lot of their problems was stemming from the pipes coming from the house to the sewer system. They had to go out and purchase 2 larger catch basins, but they had 2 firms come in on this, one from Cambridge and one from Dandridge, I believe. You can check on that. And the difference in bids was over $2 million. We have to plan for that. We can't just say, hey, we have to go out. We have to get it prepared. We have to fix it. The growth is coming. When I started coaching back 20 something years ago, we had Oakland and Riverdale in Murfreesboro. And now just think about all the calls. We've got Blackman, we've got Rockville, we've got Oakland, we've got Riverdale. We are going to grow. We have to be prepared for that. And that plan starts tomorrow. Housing. Mr. French talked about the median price, $385, $390. Me and my wife, Carrie, we got our house 4 years ago, $195,000 loan. The house just next to us just sold for $495,000. We have to provide affordable housing for the people that are coming here. We have to get on that now, and we have to plan ahead, because when the mega site hits, we better be prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Ms. Anderson, same question. Manchester population has jumped nearly 9% since the last census, according to the Census Bureau. The question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? Also, the impact of the mega site. Can you lay out your brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth?
I would say no, we are not prepared to handle it. And that's why I've been voting against annexations and high density residential developments in those annexed areas, because I feel like my duty is to represent the interests of the citizens that currently live in the city of Manchester, not the folks that live outside it. So we just recently approved about a 300-acre annexation that's going to increase the population of the city by 10% when it's finished. It may not be finished for 5 or 6 years, but still, I didn't feel that that was a responsible thing for me to do, since we didn't have a plan to fix our sewer and we didn't have a plan to expand our schools. We're talking about it, but we don't have something concrete. We don't have a way to pay for it. So that's why I voted against that stuff. As to what we can do going forward, I think we have a new water and sewer director. We need to give him time. He's already pointed out some deficiencies in the plant, but he hasn't had time maybe to put together a plan working with the mayor and the board of mayor and aldermen. I'd also like to see us, I think whoever we elect as mayor matters very much, because that person's vision is the vision that we're going to take forward for the next 4 years. So I would encourage everybody to research those candidates very well and to vote for the one that you feel like shares your vision and is going to want a plan, because it's very frustrating to not have a plan and to just be putting out fires and feel like we're not doing the best that we can for our citizens. So I think going forward, we've got to be more proactive. We've got to take advantage of every opportunity to apply for grants to try to improve our infrastructure, because those are out there and that's not been happening. And I think in the interest of the people instead of the interest of the developers need to be heard in the city hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanderson. Mr. Shannon Fletcher. Manchester population has jumped nearly 9% since the last census. Question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? Can you lay out your brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth?
Again, no, we're not ready to handle it. We're still just kind of going day by day. From what I've seen, we do have to have a plan. We need a plan. We should have had a plan. It's nobody's fault. You can't blame just any one person. It just falls by the wayside. But we have to have a plan. It has to happen now. It can't happen a year from now, 2 years from now. The growth is here. Our schools are overflowing. Everywhere you go, it's busier and busier, which is good. It's a great city. People are wanting to come here for a reason. We've got to be ready for that. Our sewer system, yes, everybody here says our sewer system needs major overhaul. It does. We've got to get a plan together to fix that. We've got to get a plan together for our fire department, our police department, our street department, our rec center, all of them. We've got to be ready in every department in our city, not just the sewer department, but all of them. And we're not ready. We're not ready at all. And it's no one person's fault. It's just things that have went by the wayside, and it's time. It's time to put people accountable to make sure this happens. And I want to be held accountable. If you're held accountable every single day, you make things happen. You make things happen in a better way because you're being pointed at and said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's what should be every one of us up here, that any of us that get elected, we need to be held accountable. And you as citizens need to hold us accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Shannon Fletcher. Up next is John Fletcher. John, the Manchester population has jumped nearly 9%, according to the Census Bureau. The question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? Can you lay out your brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth?
First of all, we have to be more proactive and less reactive. The number two thing is we need to make the planning committee make sure they have all the resources available to them. If you talk to anybody in planning, another major hurdle that they talk about is the communication it takes by the time they try to build a plan and then communicate with all of the department heads and then go through an election cycle. It feels like it just gets stuck. So again, this is where somebody like a city manager comes into play. So in regards to a city manager's job should be just like in any other business and that we've been a part of. It's our duty as elected representatives to hear the word of the people. A city manager's job would be to hear the word of all of their department heads and make sure they are fighting us to make sure they get what they need. And then together we would work and create a plan moving forward instead of every single plan being based upon an election cycle. It's just almost impossible to do that. On top of it, we have some of the most amazing people in our police and fire department and EMS and rescue squad. They are not getting the support that they need, in my opinion. I think that a stronger plan based upon their needs, based upon where they are coming up short, and we're not getting the best talent and we're not retaining the best talent, and we take their advice in moving forward. I say this every single time. We have the committees and we have all of that in place to work. Unfortunately, bureaucracy continues to get in the way because of lack of communication. I think we know we're going to grow. I think we should grow like Franklin and not like Murfreesboro.
Thank you. That was John Fletcher. We're going to go down to you, Mr. Jones. Same question. Manchester's population has jumped nearly 9% since the last census. The question is not about whether growth is coming, but are we prepared to handle it? Can you lay out your brief 5 to 10 year plan for the city to handle this influx of growth?
Yes, sir. So what I've heard so far is we need plans and we need infrastructure. However, with the plans and infrastructure we keep hearing about, none of us up here as aldermen are professional civil engineers and can do this. This is why I called on an independent audit of the infrastructure of the city so that we know what we need, what we don't know. so that way we can better vote on those issues that come up that impact the city, because it's going to impact city jobs. We're going to need more people doing more city jobs, schools, teachers, students. We're going to need more police, fire, also medical. We need a smart financial growth. BOMA, Board of Mayor and Aldermen, they can control the growth through the maps. This is one of the reasons why I'm running. I went to one of the meetings where they approved maps, and I asked who approved these maps and how did they come about? Were there any professional civil engineers? How did this come about? Well, it's planning committee. Well, who's on the committee? Family members and friends. Not good answer. So when it comes to that, we need an independent audit of the infrastructure, and that way we can make better decision as aldermen and the mayor, but we do need a long-term and short-term plan to deal with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. This will be the last question, and we're going to go back to 1 minute. Mr. Cope, I think you're next to go first. Question is, are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
The job of the mayor and alderman is to be the city manager. We have people go out here every day risking their lives in our police department and our fire department that are way underpaid. Why would we want to add another 5-digit salary when we're grossly underpaid in other areas? If elected, it's my job to be part of the city manager. It's the mayor's job to be part of the city manager. I would rather take that money and put that to get better benefits and pay for our employees and to fix things that we need.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Ms. Anderson, same question. Are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
I am in favor of a city manager. Our current charter provides for one, and it says in the absence of one, the mayor should carry out those duties or they should delegate those duties to other employees. A city manager has a lot more requirements, like the background that we would require, the experience and the education than any of us may have. We don't have that background. So I think that they have a lot of skills that we don't have. They have a lot of experience that we don't have, and they typically pay for themselves by saving us money from making stupid mistakes. And also they could be helpful with grants and things like that. So I am in favor of it. I think right now the way it works is any board member may interface with the department head, right? So that's 7 people, the mayor and all of us, that are talking potentially to department heads about problems. If I were a department head, I would just want to interface with the city manager, right? And then the city manager is our employee and we relay our concerns to them. So to me, that sounds more professional, and that's why I'm in favor of it, but I'd only be 1 vote and we'd need 4 to pass that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Shannon Fletcher, are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
I am not in favor of it. We have great department heads that do a very good job. It's the alderman and the mayor's responsibility to listen to these department heads. You have to listen to what they say and do accordingly to what they need. Yes, I mean, why do we want to pay somebody $100,000 or $80,000? Because it's going to take a lot of money to get someone like that. We have firemen, we have police that's making $30,000, $35,000 a year. We have any city employee. Why would we want to hire somebody else to come in and get a substantial amount of money to be the go-between? I don't need somebody to go between me and the department head. I don't need that. I want to go directly to them. I don't need a middleman. I don't want a middleman. And I feel that's what a city manager is. He's just a middleman. I mean, I'm totally against it. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon Fletcher. Mr. John Fletcher, same question. Are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? And if you're not in favor, please explain.
I am in favor, and the reason of it is because every single one of us sitting at this table unfortunately we're a part of small town politics. That's why you're voting us. You're voting us in because you are talking to us as your representative. That is our job. So the concept of small town politics becomes, in my opinion, about this air of backdoor dealing and all this other stuff, when in reality, it's just about poor communication. And as an individual who has worked through processes, SOPs created by the city in order to utilize mechanisms the city puts in place, and then me get complete, not the best communication and be left in the dark. I can only imagine what the department heads are going through as well, because I go through the same process to access things that department heads do. And in my opinion, a city manager would be there to help plan, be the best advocate he could be for those department heads and fight for them, and nobody be a slave to the electoral system, because you can't do something in 10 years when everybody's going to vote differently every 4.
Thank you, Mr. John Fletcher. Down to Mr. Jones. Same question. Are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
150% in favor of a city planner. And as I said before, there's no rhyme or reason for zoning where businesses, residents, industry, schools go. We're going to need that in the future. The city planner, the way I see it, would not just answer to the mayor or work for the mayor. They would work for the BOMA, which is the Board of Mayor and Alderman. So they would have a say-so on how this person is treated, because elections come and go every 4 years. The mayor come and go every 4 years. We need somebody in a position that can keep this going when we're not here, if we're not here. We need the stability there for the city. Last thing I want to say, how do we pay for this? The city is $12 to $14 million in city surplus. We have an annual $1.3 million surplus. So why couldn't we pay for this? I mean, if it's $70,000 to $80,000 job, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. French, are you in favor of a city manager? If so, how would you assure that individual would be allowed to do their job running the city without the burden of small town politics? If you're not in favor, please explain.
So it's a trick question, Robin, and I know you did it on purpose. So you're not going to avoid small town city politics and work for the city of Manchester or any other city for that matter. I am in favor of professional management. Let's step back a couple years. Both Mayor Norman and Mayor Superstein had a de facto, if you will, chief of staff. Jeff Burnett, go back to Mayor Superstein, was very effective in working in grants and working interdepartmentally, making sure, for example, grants have been brought up, the CBDG, the block grants, things like that. Jeff did a great job with that. Later, Terry Dindy did the same thing for Mayor Norman. And then when Mayor Norman passed away, there's a void. Right now, the mayor's administrative agenda should take precedent. That's why we elect a mayor. And same thing that's happened with the county right now. That vision isn't on paper without professional management. And I think a lot of the problems that we're having right now in the city happened as a result of Mayor Norman passing away early. And that wasn't fair to anybody. Mayor Howard's done an incredible job. She's an incredible person. But we were put in a tough spot. And without that professional management, it does make things difficult to carry on. Whether it's a manager or chief of staff, I am for professional management.
All right. Thank you, Mr. French. I'm just the talent. That's all I am. I'm like Vanna White. That's all I do. Okay, so we have, we'd like everybody to do a 1-minute closing statement where you ask the citizens for your vote. And we'll start with you, Ms. Anderson. And I think you're next, right? And then we'll go around. Oh, he said you can do 2 minutes. So you have 2 minutes for a
Okay, I
closing statement.
probably am not going to use 2 minutes to everybody's disappointment. My name is Julie Anderson. Again, I have been serving as one of your 6 aldermen for the last 2 years, coming up this August. I'm asking for your support to continue to serve you for another 4. And I know that we won't agree on every issue, but I will always listen to you and I will always do my research and try to do what's right. And it doesn't matter to me if I'm the only one voting no on something or the only one voting yes on something. If I think that's what's best for Manchester, then that's what I'm going to do. And I'd also like to remind everybody to continue this respectful debate that we're having without the negativity, without being personal. We can all state our differences. We can talk about the issues without getting ugly. I think that's what discourages so many people from being involved in the process here, is that we have fallen away as a society from the ability to have this respectful discourse that's so important to good government. So I would love to see more of you at the meetings if I'm elected. I'm asking, you get to pick 3. I'd be honored to be one of your 3 choices. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Julie Anderson, for those of you listening on the radio. Next, we'll have Mr. Shannon Fletcher. You have 2 minutes for your final appeal.
My name's Shannon Fletcher. Again, my nickname's Festus, although his is Bull, so we can separate them that way. I would love to be an alderman. I want to bring positivity back to our city. Not that it's gone away, but you hear so many negative things here lately. I want to start hearing positive things. I want to be the citizens' voice. I want to be your voice. I want to listen to your problems, your concerns, or what's going good, anything. I want to hear it. I want to get it out into the meetings and let everybody on the board hear what you're saying and what our needs and our wants are. I'm a very good listener. I listen very well. I also don't mind voicing my opinion. I'm very good at that. I'm also a leader. I'm not a follower. I will always be a leader. And I think that goes a long way in politics, which I'm not a politician, will never be. You got to lead and stand firm. Again, there's 8 of us running. There's only 3 seats. I can't say anything bad about any 8 that's running. All I can say is it's y'all's responsibility to pick out the 3 best, and I hope that I'm one of them. If not, I'll still do my very best for my city each and every day. Like I said, I'm a business owner here, and I love my city, and I don't plan on going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Shannon Fletcher. Up next, we have John Fletcher. John, you have 2 minutes for your final closing statement.
Again, I am not Festus. I am on your ballots. It's John Revis Fletcher, or again, the majority of you guys know me as Bull. Festus, I love that statement. But the interesting thing about me is I've always been a cog in the wheel. And I know some people look at that as disheartening, but the cog in a wheel makes a machine run. And yes, at times we do need strong leaders to stand up. And that is 100%. As a cog in the wheel, I like to think I am very good at my job and the role that I am delegated to do in the machine. Now, as that role, I can be a leader. But again, as a cog in the machine, because that's what we are. We are all cogs in this city's machine that is going to allow it to continue to move forward. There are so many misconceptions that are out there. And what's fun, even about this process, is the conversations that I've had with these people up here and learning in regards to that. I can work with anybody on this board, even though myself and Shannon don't necessarily agree on certain things. What we would do is I would clearly say, okay, Shannon, if we don't need a manager, I will hold your feet to the fire and make sure you're getting it done for this department. And I have no problem doing that because I know, in my opinion, that's a very complicated job. And so, but if Shannon thinks he can stand up and do it, I will stand behind him 100% and help him along that way. It goes the same thing in regards to communication. It goes the same thing in regard to communication. I think we need help with communication. There's been other of my colleagues sitting up here at this table that think, no, we don't. That is fine. I am behind you 100%. If you, one of my colleagues at this table, can create a communication system at not spending additional money, I am behind you 100%. In my experience, it won't be done. It'll fall through the cracks and it won't work. But I will still stand beside each one of you and work hard in order to try to make it happen. And if it doesn't, then I will bring back up to the table about a resolution. Because again, that's what I think we are about. Like I said, we need a good, safe town. Our planning commission, Rocky, that's even our planning commission. We have great people who are working together right now. The only problem is by the time they figure out something to do and then communicate with a department head, it's already moved on to another department and we've already missed that opportunity, which again falls back to communication. So my name is John Fletcher. I'm running for Alderman. Again, don't ask me who I am, ask somebody else.
Thank you. That was John Fletcher. Up next, we have Harold Rocky Jones. Mr. Jones, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Roger that. Just want to start off by saying my political party is American, period. I want to finish what I was starting as my platform, better support of youth sports fields. Take a look at those, review of grant writing to save money, state, federal dollars, $3.9 million, TDEC money that went to Cookeville. We could do the same thing for our infrastructure. Enthusiastic champion to encourage world-class business growth that brings in higher pay and salaries. Smart financial conservative growth approach. I would not vote for maps or large-scale developments without infrastructure to support it. In this position, I'm not conflicted by family, friends, or any business. I'm not your status quo candidate. I will lead from the front and not from behind. I am Harold Rocky Jones. I'm asking for your vote. God bless Manchester and God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Up next is Ryan French. Ryan, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Yep. So I appreciate everything that everyone said here tonight. I analyze as we go. Sorry if I make faces as we do it. Some things surprise me. But I'm a doer. I'm a positive person. I agree with the sentiment that the online vitriol, the nastiness in politics, it needs to go away. If you live in Manchester, unless you're under a rock, you know that a lot of that has been directed at my family over the last 8 years. And it makes it hard to set up here and run for office and have that target on not just my back, but my family's back. And my kids bear that weight too. And that's the reality of this. So I don't take it lightly that anyone puts their name on the ballot to run for mayor or alderman or anything in this community. I'm a doer. If you want to vote for me, I'm going to do things. We've talked about setting policy. We're electing aldermen. We're policymakers. If there's an issue, we develop a policy to address the issue. We don't address the issue directly. We develop the policy for it. So let's talk about some of these issues. Sewer. Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. ARPA came down. A lot of people call it COVID money. We had an opportunity as board mayor and alderman to use that money basically on anything that we wanted to. But the state of Tennessee came down and said, hey, sewer is a big deal. If you guys will use it on sewer, we will match that money dollar for dollar, 100%. We put every single bit of it to sewer. We've done over $20 million in sewer rehab in the last 20 years. Block grants. I helped write a $350,000 block grant for water mitigation issues on Forestwood Drive that ends up affecting the Skinner Flat area. Is it the solve all? No, but it is a step in the right direction. Employee retention. That's a massive thing. I actually brought a plan to the board that was passed, and we have done an employee review, not just of salaries, but of benefits and what's important to employees. We're in the position to act on that now. This next board that you elect will have that information in front of them that they can make an informed decision because we were planning. Local land use map. It's interesting. Some people say they won't vote for infrastructure until we have a land use map that supports it. That's why we create land use maps. That isn't a board of friends and family. I'm sure they have friends and I'm sure they have family, but that's a board of professionals that made a great document that's going to carry this city forward. Those are things that we've done. And it was also mentioned what's in reserves. When I got elected, there was less than $1 million in reserves. We voted on a $3 million project with no money to pay for it. There's over 12 million in reserves. We have the ability to invest in these things that we need. We're already investing into them. If you want to continue to do, I would appreciate your vote, and I'll continue to do those things.
Thank you. That's Ryan French. Mr. Joe Pat Cope, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement, sir.
Joe Pat Cope, early voting starts tomorrow. I humbly ask for your vote and support. You know, as I look out the window there, I see the daycare across the road where our son Tulsa goes. When he graduates there, he will go to Manchester City Schools where he is zoned. It's very important to us. After that, he will be a Red Raider at Coffee County High School. Me and my family is 100% Manchester. You go out and you look at our vehicles. We bought those in Manchester. A bull said earlier, and I loved it, we're going to grow. Let's grow like Franklin. Let's not grow like Murfreesboro. We can all get along. We've got to get rid of these divisions. Ryan has coached AAU, many great AAU teams that feeds my program. When I bought my lot, I called Festus, my friend Festus, and said, hey, you want to clean my lot and lay the sod? He did. I've been on Bull's podcast. I am 110% Manchester, and I will always be that. I love the fact that you can go in Spring Street Market and have a cup of coffee with the owners while they cut your meat. I love the fact you can turn on Thunder Radio and know what athlete or what band member or what cheerleader's birthday it is. They care about the county. Me and my family are the same way. So starting tomorrow, if you cast your vote, I can promise you 110%. I will always work what's best for Manchester. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. We certainly appreciate all of our aldermanic, that's a hard word, all the alderman candidates for coming out this evening. As I said earlier, and I think Ryan alluded to this, running for office is not easy, and being in office is probably even harder. So I appreciate all of you for the effort that you're putting forth to serve our community. And I think they deserve a round of applause for that. I appreciate Josh and Holly putting up with me and letting me do this, and all the candidates. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, boss.
No, thank you guys so much for showing up, and everybody that made it. We did have two candidates who weren't here tonight, Wilma Thomas and James Threet. I forgot to mention them at the very beginning. Do want to thank everybody for keeping it civil. Probably not good for ratings this year, but nobody challenged anybody at any golf matches or anything, so it was good. You can catch replays today. If you missed something, you want to hear it again, our website, thunder1320.com. We'll have those uploaded probably within a day. Just click on downloads, or you can rewatch it on Thunder Radio's Facebook or our YouTube channel. For everybody back on the radio, we're going to send you to Atlanta Braves baseball. For everybody here, thank you so much for coming out, and you'll drive home safely.